Start here. All right, so today we're going to be going over some basic, foundational things with how to build websites with your group. Every group has a website as part of the features that we got this kind of shell of a platform from Campus Groups. So it's one of the features, and it's kind of hard. I've been kind of putting off on how to address websites as it can get kind of technical very fast, but it also has the elements to be very easy. So I'm kind of hoping to bridge it by kind of giving an overview, and then depending on the level of skill that a person, an officer of a group has, they can kind of run with it or not, right? But the basics will be there. So right now I'm on the Test Group Club Mini Edition. As you can see, I have, since I just clicked on it recently, but yeah, you're going to be looking for this tile, right? This color tile. We're going to click on this. You can also find it, again, I'm going to continue to say it and advocate for it, but to pop out the left side pane, as it will help with more additional things. So you can also view and go to it from there, right? And as you click on website, either option, right? I'm going to go back. It's going to always go right to edit web pages as the default selection that starts on. Obviously, open website will literally open and take you to the website, but that also, you can find that, this we've gone through that there's multiple ways to get to things, but these are the same thing. So I usually just go here when I want to actually check out what the website looks like or start editing. But yes, you can either to get to those areas, website tile, or that left side navigation pane, going and clicking on website, and then it'll take you to this window, right? The edit web pages. Every group's going to have these basic pages, right? You can create more if you want, obviously by going to create page. But yes, these are going to be the main basics, your home, events, some of the same things that you would see in the main dashboard itself, right? But it's just maybe a little bit different in how it says it. So officers, for example, if you were looking at that from what it would look like on a web page, it would say leadership team, right? But yes, all the main things were your documents, photos, etc., all can be found here. And they should, by the most part, I know I've unpublished a couple of these in this group, but for the most part, everyone should be published. If any of these pages are missing, it's most likely due to the ADA accessibility stuff that has been going on and trying to hit compliance with it at a certain percentage level. So having to go through all the groups and make sure that certain pages were up to date might have happened, but most likely every page should be there. But either way, yes, you're going to have these pages. I'm just going to take us to what it looks like right now, go into how to start kind of adding and modifying a page, and then I'll come back and kind of describe a little bit more about the structure and everything, because that's where it starts to get a little bit more technical. But yes, if we just again click on this to open it up, where you'll see something maybe very similar to this, or you'll probably see. Let's just go to uh, just do see if we got Easel, or actually Music Club. We just started. That's just a brand new one, so we're gonna go and check this out, and everyone would look like this. You have this basic background, an option to click on join, which will basically just send you to a thing that asks you to hit join if you can join it. Most likely you will join and it'll ask you to be validated on the back end by an officer. But yes, everyone's going to have this same, the name of your group, being part of the vibrant community. But then, yes, you're going to have some of these sections, and some of these sections are what we're going to look at in terms of things that you can do with, in terms of widgets and adding and modifying. And as you also can see, like I said, most of the default stuff are going to be there as well. So if we were to go back to the test group club mini edition, we would take a look then and see like, okay, let's start playing around here. So we open this up. If I wanted to add something to my page, right, I'm immediately going to start to see these two icons appear, right? It may not appear right away, but they will appear as soon as you like click within the window and start moving around. If you're an officer, you should have that opportunity to actually start modifying, right? So this first one obviously takes you back to where we currently were. Um, and then the second one will be, and as again, you see how it pops up. The second one will be actually popping out I'm going to call it the navigation pane for creating and adding widgets, right? So there's all these different pre-made widgets that, again, campus groups created when they were selling off this platform. And you can kind of just decide what you want to do. You're also going to have this, I should mention this quickly, this little free floating tool window, however you want to put it. It's grayed out right now because we don't have any actual widgets that we've selected. But once we select a widget, it's going to give us options, right? So as soon as I clicked in here, it allowed us to start adding and modifying what is in this section, right? But if I was just to go ahead and say, like, yeah, let's look at some of the default things that you would see. One, you would see this header up here at the top. So it's kind of nice. You can actually be able to kind of filter and sort out what type of widgets you want to add to your website. So yeah, header, there's only going to be one option, but when you say go to footer, which would be at the bottom here, right, you've got a lot more options, um, at least a couple more, three more, yeah, options. So if I wanted to say not have this be the footer that I want to use, I can instead take this and just drag it right out, right? And now I've got the footer dark color added on there. And then I can go ahead and I've got these uh, options for what to do, right? Either move something, right? Or I can duplicate it, right? Or I can delete it, right? So in this instance, I'm going to delete it. The duplication of widgets or sections, right, can be very helpful, especially when you've got a lot that you want to put in. So like, as you can see, this section here, and I know that this is probably an accordion. It's probably something like this. Yeah, I think it might be this. There's obviously, you can see there's a lot of different options. We could actually delete this one out, right? And now we just have our title and our footer and our header. But let's throw in, say, this. Well, let's use this one, right? So we pop this one in, and now we have all these options right here, right? So a couple things to look at and think about, right, is again, if I was talking about duplicating things, I can duplicate. And if I have a bunch of things I want to use with my accordion, which they basically, if I was to save this right now and look at this live, this basically should, um, well, should be actually be collapsing this, but I don't know why that's not doing that. Um, because that's what the whole idea of what the accordion does. But anyway, hello page. I'm just kind of going through some things here. Yep, awesome. I'm gonna put you on mute here, just so that we make sure that we have uh, we have everything quiet for the recording. And I'm just gonna go through. I'm just going through things and so you can just kind of jump in and see what's going on. So. Yeah, the accordion should be doing this. That's what accordions do. But I don't have, maybe I have to actually add more content within it. I don't know. But yeah, some of the things that you can see here is you can actually be able to change the background, right? So right now, it really depends on how you hover over something, right? So I can see that right here allows me to actually add a background if I wanted to. I don't, let's see if I have maybe something on the desktop here. The Leadership Summit icon. Let's throw that up there, right? I'll probably look a little distorted, but let's go with it. So I can insert that in, and now you can see I have this background for this section, right? Um, Another thing I could do is if I wanted to say change this picture, right? I have to click on the picture. So clicking on the picture actually gives hovers. You might not be able to see it exactly, but it's got this orange bar border going around it. This would then allow you to be able to edit and actually put in a different image. And so again, this is not gonna, it's not gonna look right by me clicking on this, but because it needs to be more the opposite way, I think horizontal, but we could try actually making it, see if we can do that. Maybe that will work. And then we can go ahead and delete that one, right? So now you can see that, hey, that actually did add that in there, and it still has all of the other stuff that we're working with, um, and whatnot, right? So if we wanted to make this look um, a little bit more nice, nicer just in general, right? Yeah, it's about how things flow, right? So we could maybe try to, yep, it allows us to do that even. So we have some ability to actually drag. There you go. Um, I will say not all sections are going to be like this, right? So just be prepared though. Like you, and I also want to say the thing that I've noticed when working with this website designer, builder, however you want to put it, is that sometimes you need to be very specific with the image sizes, right? So it might take a little bit to try to figure out what works and what doesn't work when trying to add images to kind of give more of a design element to your site. But right now, here we go. We've added this, and I'm going to knock this one out too. And again, if I have to make sure that I save, so it actually saves it, this now takes us right back to the live view, right? So if anyone who wasn't an officer of the group would not have these icons here, and they would be seeing it just as is live, right? So we can go ahead and look at some more things. Maybe I want to take out this title section, right? And as you can see, again, we have a little icon there, which lets us change the background image if we wanted to. But I'm going to go ahead and delete that out. I'm going to now go to title, I believe, titles. There we go. And again, you can see that there's just a whole bunch of different options here that we can really choose from, right? Some of these are ones that let you choose a actual an image for it again. Some of these are just simple colored ones, right? And some are what are called dynamic, which they should let you have a little bit more flexibility. I think this is a dynamic one, as it lets you adjust the actual image itself. But if we were just to say maybe go with this one, right? Now you can see that we have a simple centered title with a subtitle below it, right? So, you could have a main section that you're trying to talk about, and then something that kind of gives context to this main section, right? So, we could say, leadership summit, right? Um, and then click down maybe that, it's coming up March 5th, 2026, right? Um, and there we go, right? You can still, even though, and I don't know, it may be confusing to some, but even though you have that this ability to have, pick a centered thing, you can still actually adjust things with the toolbox, right? So it doesn't exactly leave you just you don't have to maybe pick another one, right, and throw that in there. Um, but again, this is kind of playing around with it. We're seeing like a few different options right now, right? Like this has a little bit of a little section break right there. And this one again goes left, right? You can change things like how it views, like if you wanted to put this as a paragraph, it would change it back to a paragraph, right? Versus a header, and to kind of explain, there's really six different types of headers. right? And so I think this is really just giving us two options, maybe like a heading 3 and then a subheading, which takes kind of puts it with a different font style on there. But we could do that, right? And then we have that. And then again, we can go ahead and save that. Um, so let's now let's look at some of the other things that we can have. And again, there's many of them. I will go in and have us take a look at the executive leadership team website that has kind of been the idea for building some of this stuff out. We can see, and again, I'm going right into it from here. Um, we have the same style that you saw for the one with I believe I gotta move this guy out of the way. For the Mass College Music Club, it just looks a little different, right? Um, though it's easy with some of these widgets, right? There's also not a lot of customization that you can do, again, unless if you have more technical knowledge on how to build websites with HTML. Though I would say that probably Gemini would help a lot with that. But as you can see, some of these things, yeah, this is just a title right here, right? This is a couple images and then a basic footer, right? But some of the things that you can do, right, is as you can see, like, yeah, I think that this one would be called, if I go into the test group club, if I wanted to have a section on, I had an about section, right? Um, but let's just try to change that with this, right? So if I wanted, there we go, we got that. If we wanted like more of an about, um, maybe it might be features large, yeah. So kind of explaining like what something is, right? I can throw that in here. And again, I think that's where you're seeing like, oh, kind of adding it. This one is a little bit different than this one, right? As you can see, there's quite a few different options. Here's probably closer to the one that I had, where it kind of covers up this entire side and it's not kind of floating with a shadow beneath it. This one you can see has kind of like a table. So it does this one, right? And you can if you have specific points that you want to bring up on some or about something about why your club is what your club's doing or how it helps with students or how it helps the mission of your club, maybe you can be able to you know uh, describe that or express that through some of these table like widgets right here. Um, so yeah, there's that. One thing that and I think a good example that I can use is events. Everyone's going to have an event tab. Now we have these events currently going on. Obviously, the website one is here. Um, if we look at that from events from our page, we've got no events, right? So you'd have to make sure that you have events created ahead of time. And if you do, then you will have them show up, right? So it's kind of like same thing with leadership team. If you don't have anybody, and everyone should have officers, but if you don't have any officers or how many you have, they're only going to show up when you use a widget like I think it's called team, right? Oops, let me get this out of the way again. You can see that, yeah, we've got this base, probably like this team one or something like that being used, right? But you can do specifics. But as you can see, that specific now has to be customized exactly. It doesn't kind of pull in the the pre-officers ahead of time. You now have to actually go ahead and make sure that you have an image and make sure that you actually put down all the information, right? Like versus this. Some people just choose this as a very easy thing because they don't have to do a lot with it, right? But yeah, I mean, you go and we're gonna hit leave. You look at events, yes, you can have multiple different types of event widgets on that. Again, we're gonna go and see to events and you can have, again, you're not gonna find any, but if we were to maybe go and do it with the um, test group or actually with, um, put myself with too many tabs. If we were to look and actually try to look at how this would look with events here, you can see that, yeah, I can, I think this one is, okay, so yeah, you're gonna want to look at what you're gonna want to do here, Liz, is you're gonna want to check to make sure that they're hidden or not hidden in your members, right? So, what I would suggest that you do is reach out to me outside of the training, and I can be able to um, maybe actually go through it a little bit more specifically. But yes, it would be in your members tab is what you're looking for, and then see if they're actually hidden or not hidden. So if I'm looking at, now I have my upcoming events, I could maybe try and throw out, say, this one, right? So this one kind of spotlights one specifically and then has a bunch of other smaller ones. And this one's more, again, like it says a timeline, right? I think the thing that I'm trying to get across here, right, is that you can do a lot of different things. It just is really about the style that you want your site to show up as. And it's all also about what you want to try to say with it, right? Like I think it's kind of a little bit about storytelling, right? So yeah, so that's kind of a lot of the stuff that I'm trying to kind of get across here. I mean, yeah, you can actually even do this one, but I think as you can see, this one, again, the images, like I've kind of said before, if the images do not, um, if they're not within the right aspect ratio, they're going to be distorted and pixelated, right? So you have to make sure that that is looking correctly, right? So I'm going to leave that. Yep, I don't want to save any of those. Um, and obviously that did save one, but that's okay. Let me just delete that out. Actually, saved all of them. That was not what I wanted. Great, whatever. There we go. And so now I'm trying to go back to the main thing that I was talking about, which is the actual, structure, right? So, um, if you want to kind of shy away from how the default stuff looks, that can be done very easily. Um, in theory, right? But you just have to kind of know what you're doing because so that you don't accidentally, I'm going to say break anything, right? So as you can see, everyone except the ones that I've actually unpublished are showing up. And then you can have specific menu items. So if we were to look at this, it says, actually I'm on ELT right now. So if we were to go and look at, let me leave this. Let me go here, go back. If we were to look at how the test group club looks with resources, right? We have a section and then we have two items underneath the section, documents, um, and we have documents and useful links, right? So those are going to be, you're going to have the resources as the section and then the two things underneath that, right? So if you wanted to do something like that, like I think that the way that the task group, that the executive leadership team thing looks is we have it where it says resource hub, and then we have all of these things underneath that, right? So if you're going to do that, you have to have, as you can see, your resources with your menu item, and then you're going to have to want to drag those items. I always say drag them in or below where your menu item is, and then specify where you want it to go. So in this instance, there's only one thing, resources, but let's create another so that we can have something that kind of, you can see it kind of more in action. So menu two, we're just going to call it menu two. And let's even create one where that says menu three, right? So we create that. And now you're going to see that they kind of just pop right up there at the top. We have to drag them into place because you're going to see that the way that these go is from starting from the left-hand side. If you're looking at a web page, right, you're going to see it goes home, events, news, leadership. So you want to make sure if we were to refresh this, it should show up now as, yep, menu three, menu two. We have to make sure that when we're doing it, we put them in the order that we really want them to be in, right? So let's say I want menu item two to be under events below, right next to events, after events. and I want then menu 3 to go even further down, probably like right after menu, right before contact us, right? And let's say that now I want to create a page underneath that, right? I can have as many pages as I want. And for the sake of this, I'm going to kind of help to make it makes a little bit more sense by doing like file name kind of extension. So menu 3A, right? I'm going to do menu 3B, and now I'm going to drag those down, right? And then I'm going to select where I want it to be. So now it's in that menu, and I didn't actually do the same thing exactly right, but that's okay. There we go. So now that's looking a little bit more consistent, and it automatically publishes them right off the get-go, right? And let's just look at menu 2. And you saw me just do this two different ways, right? I can create a page right from the get-go like this, or I can create it from here, which will automatically associate it to the menu 2 section, right? So this will give me some options that this one won't, but this, they kind of have their positives and negatives, right? So again, I'm going to do it both ways. I'm going to do menu 2A, right? Which just, again, will create a basic page right underneath that, or I can do create page right here, and you'll start to see that, yes, things start to pop up. If you wanted to use, this is where it could be nice, right? I could say I want it to be like a simple page too. I can select that and then hit create, and then that will make that happen, right? The difference between the two things, right? Oops, I should change this to menu 2B, I'm sorry. Um, the difference between the things, right, is that one, again, I have to drag it below, right, and then select it to go to menu 2, or when I hit the page and add page under the menu, it's immediately going to associate it there, and I don't have to deal with that, right? And so now if we looked at what it's looking like so far, right, we can see that we now have menu 2, and then menu 2A, 2B, menu 3, menu 3A, 3B. Now let's look at what that one that we created was, that's simple page or whatever. I think, which one was it? Oh, so it's just kind of the same one, I guess. But let's try to give it a good, better example then. Let's do menu 2C, and let's make this a home landing page. Hit create. So again, because I didn't do it right within, I have to drag it down. And I'm only dragging it down because in order like this, because for me, that's how I want it. Again, it's really how it makes most sense to you. But now you look, and there you go. So it's going to give you that pre-made page of how you kind of want, I want a style that looks like this, right? And as you can see, this kind of looks nice actually, right? It's got a bunch of kind of cool things with it, right? Um, and you still have the ability then to customize it however you want from there, right? So, um, and so yeah, there's that, right? I mean, you can do even more with this, right? Um, and I would say, like, if you wanted to set something as the main homepage, right? Say I want my events to be the main homepage. You can see I can just hit that. When I now click on this extension of this URL will now automatically redirect to go to events, right? So, which is a nice thing if you just maybe want to have one page and you don't want to have a very, um, you know, convoluted, like really bogged down thing. You could just maybe have one landing page and that could be set to that, right? Actually, a great way of showing that would be is we have a landing page. We created menu 2C as with the landing page template. So now when I click on that, it's immediately going to pop that up just like that, right? So, I mean, that's pretty cool. If I wanted again to hide a bunch of pages, right? I didn't want the home page which says home to be published. I can just start wiping all of these out, right? And then I can basically then just go ahead and click on now. After that, you can see that every time I do that, it says that it's saving. But now when I click on that, still only go to that one page, right? And everything else is hidden, right? It's not actually findable on the web at that point, right? If I wanted to change something, right? Like the name of the page, I could actually do that. And so I could call this home landing. I don't know. I could name it how whatever I wanted, right? And now, and I could, for the sake of this, because it's now the home page, so it's not associating to any menu item anymore. I could now just put this up at the top, right? I always think it's good to have organization like that because then you know exactly what goes to where. I've worked with a lot of different web pages before where it's like things get very confusing as to where something it starts and where it ends, right? And you can have pages within pages, right? So it's always good to um, make sure that yeah, you kind of know what you're organized a little bit. I can do things like hide this in menu. I mean, I think it's easy just to say unpublished, but I can also hide it in the menu item of something if I want to. So if I was to go back and let's go put it back into right here. Let's go back and now change this back to just gonna call it to C just for the quick sake, right? And now I want to republish this and then publish this again. I should now be able to put this in. Come on, come on, come on. Should now be able to put it back together. There we go. Yeah, it just need to be refreshed, but it should now show up again. Yep. So, but if I wanted to just hide that, right, I could just hide that. I click on that again. That now doesn't show up. It still is published on so somebody could find the difference here between published and hide in menu is hide in menu someone can still if they know what the specific URL address is they can still find that, right? So if we know that if we click on this page we know that this is going to be the name of the acronym for the club, right? And then menu/menu dash 2C, someone can still go directly to that and find that. You hit unpublish and check that box. That is not a usable URL until you check that box again. So it's very important to I think it's better just to unpublish something, but um, again, it's really depends on however you feel more comfortable with it, but just know that your stuff is going to be findable. And so, yes, we have some other bits and information here. I just want to kind of go through quick, and which is that, yeah, you can have the ability to, again, I want to actually quickly say one thing. If I wanted to edit, right, that's the same thing as me going to the page and then clicking on this. Again, I've said that there's multiple ways of doing things. That is the case here. If I wanted to have specific settings, right, and I could duplicate a page, right, but if I wanted to only let specific individuals see this, right, it would do that based on their access in Wolfpack Connect, right? So if I wanted this just to be for Madison College users only, right, who are in Wolfpack Connect, I could set that to that. Or I could set that to group members only, or group officers only, right? So that could make it very specific, right? That could, maybe say like you had specific groups in your group itself, right? Group A, Group B, and you want only Group A. You could say subgroups members only, right? And you can then select that, but it would only work if you set that up ahead of time, right? Um, Other things, right? If you wanted to actually look at more detailed specifics, this is where it's going to get a little bit more technical. Um, you could do that, right? So we already know that the menu, it's called menu 2A because it's right there, right? But we could name the title of the page that's essentially up here where, like, if we look at the Madison College one where it says welcome faculty and staff, right? That's the title of the page itself. You can go through, you can actually name it something, and then that would show up at the title of the page. The description, this is for when you're searching things on the web. how it would show up, right? So, and here's some little like advice and tips that, short description, right? But yeah, if I wanted to say, I want to look up menu 2A from the test group club mini edition, right? And then you search that in Google, the description, like this is the menu 2A page for the test group club, or however you want to say it. Can also do things that originally were called meta tags back when HTML4 and HTML3 were big things, which just help with the keywords themselves, right? So it helps to give faster connectivity based on search results, right? I think that this is maybe not as much of a bigger thing anymore, just because we can find anything instantly and because of the advancements in being able to do crawling, HTML crawling on which indexes every web page. But yes, this can also help with that as well, right? We can actually change that. Remember, I was saying that somebody can go and actually find the URL of your actual page, right? We can change that if we wanted to. Um, and it would only change the URL name of the page. It wouldn't change anything. So like after that. So right. So it wouldn't change this part, right? So this part is saying where it's think of it like a file folder structure, right? So we know that everything's going to have the same thing here, which is going to say, which is our main Wolfpack Connect page. This is our main groups folder, right? And then this is menu 2C. We could have this be as far in advance as we wanted to if we have that set up with the pages and then the menus within that, right? So it
I got a
it
question.
yeah, what's up?
Sorry to interrupt. So with
Yeah,
keywords, because we're parents and student, can one of our key, like if we were to put it there, like be parents and student, so it can kind of go straight to whatever we want them to look up or look at.
I would say I'll be completely honest with you, Paige. Yes and no, right? In theory, yes, it should work, right? But you're also fighting against thousands of other pages, right? Who, if they have any of those keywords, then it really is being dictated on the amount, how many times so if I have a page with Nike and if I have a page with Adidas, right? If Nike gets more views, right, than Adidas, yes, if you have shared keywords like say shoes, for example, right? It's then going to pull up Nike faster because it's had more page views, right? So it's again, it was kind of an idea that was based way back in the day. I would even say around the 90s, right, with called meta tags that allowed that to help kind of give an edge. You also another thing have to think about pages if you can now pay to get your results up at the top of a page, right? So yeah, someone Google offers those services, and I would honestly venture to say that there are other search. I'm going to use Yahoo. It's such an old one now, but you can pay to get your boosted your ratings, right? So yes, to answer your question, you could technically do that. And I'm not going to say that I don't try it, right? I haven't tried it. If we look at, I think that this one, I think I do probably post it a couple down. It's yeah. So club management, student life, leadership, mass, like I have all these different keywords, but by no means do I realistically think that this is going to help? And I've been doing using these keywords for over a year now, and I don't feel like it's helped my any bit, right? But yes, if you have a specific like, a specific niche, or whatever that nobody else has, right? I think then that couldn't give you an edge because nobody else may have that combination of keywords, and then uh, you know you're going to have kind of some of a faster ranking in the search results, right? But yes, it's not. I don't want to discourage from it, but I want to be very realistic that it may not actually do anything. I don't know if it actually does. Um, if I was to try executive leadership team, I can spell it right. I don't even think I spelled that right. Madison, Wisconsin. Yep, I did it. Let's try Wolfpack Connect. So it's, as you can see, the Love Grow Serve, that's a club. But that's not, it's what's this pulling up? What's this using right now to help pull this up? It's probably using something about Wolfpack Connect, I would say right there, right? Or Madison College. Um, I can say that this, the official campus platform, right? Like that is something that I put in on every one of the, as you law, if I was to do a new incognito window and look at students at Madison College and then go from Wolfpack Connect from there, right? Um, this this stuff right here, that is what uh, I have so many pages with every one of these pages that you see has that same subtext that we just saw in the background where it said welcome to Wolfpack Connect. So yeah, it's the main page, and I have Google Analytics telling me that yes, everybody has to go if they're using a web view or using their laptop or their desktop to view the Wolfpack Connect, they have to go through that page to log in first, right? So it's going to be the top hit, and so it's going to boost up in the rankings. Um, it is interesting to see, like, hey, this Wolfpack Connect training website, right? That's obviously something we looked at. So that definitely helped, right? But I don't know, and it's going to take us here because this is a front facing set page, right? But I don't think it's going to take, you know, took us to events, right? But even after all this, I think you're seeing though that it doesn't. I had to type in three distinct things: executive leadership team, location, Wolfpack Connect. Those are three distinct things that help, right? Um, but by no means I don't it didn't really give me the results I'm fully looking for, right? So I mean, we can even try that. We can try this with parenting student club, right? Like it might bring up the page. Yeah, it'll bring up your page, right? It will do that, right? Um, but if you want something specific to that, I I I would say probably won't, right? Um, as you can see, after it goes past the main page, right? And it's doing that again because it has just enough of the distinct, unique information. But past that, it kind of loses its wind, right? It starts trying to grab at anything, right? So, and to try to make that work. And finally, after that point, it's kind of just, you know, boom going out, right? So yes, it's helpful, but it's not gonna it's not going to be the main thing that's going to get you to what you're looking for. But yeah, something to think about. But yes, so hopefully that answered your question, Paige. Um, and so yeah, if I'm right now, I'm looking at the one from executive leadership team still. Other things that you can do and is you can have it redirect to something else, right? So if I wanted to, and I'm going to do this with a test group club because I don't want to accidentally um, do it with, not that I'm concerned, but I don't want to play around. If I wanted to immediately have, say, let's do, just do it with home. And let's pull up, oops. So that's the URL of Google. I should be able to paste this in and hit save. And now it should redirect me. So no, I gotta refresh the page. Oh, it's not good. So what you're seeing happening right now is there's a lot when I go back and forth between groups, it gets stuck in the other group. So this can be I might have accidentally just done this with the group. Not yet. So those are all these. All right, so that's definitely not working like I want it to. Okay, I didn't save it. That could be why. Right, so hopefully that saved it. I will not know where home went. Huh. This is a very good reason why I did not do this on the ELT one, because it just disappeared. It like um just took away the home page after I hit that. And well, so it does work. It actually does work, but it doesn't do it the way that you would expect it to. Um, I could do it like this, hit home, then hit this, and there you go. Now it goes to Google. All right, so I can redirect the page, right? In this attempt, I was trying to do it to make it the home page, but I can take any page and redirect it to anything. So if you have another page, or if you have other information, or maybe the Parenting Student Club has resources for parents, right, that you want to direct them to, right? Maybe you can then have use those URLs and then be able to direct it right them, click these links and then it directs them, right? And you can basically create a page as a shell, which then links to something else, right? That's all that could be done. Another thing that you could do here in settings is you can actually make it, you can pick from already predetermined things. Like if you want it to instead go to the list of members, you could have it select to go to that instead. Some of these we already have, or as pages, surveys and forums, etc. But members, we don't have a list of members, right? So it could actually do that. And then you have these other things, right? Open in a new tab. So it doesn't do it within the same tab or window, right? It can actually open in a new tab. And then call to action buttons, right? So kind of sticks out and is flashy, like, hey, something to look at. Look at this, right? And then you could actually make this password protected. Um, I've never honestly done it, right? But we could put um, we could just do test. Let's see what happens. Oh wait, I have to tell it to not redirect anymore. Okay, let's not make it the home page. Let's put it down with, let's create another page. Let's make this the home page. Let's see. Interesting. So yeah, I haven't fully, this is something I haven't fully, you know, uh, had to do. I'm a little bit,
So you learning as you teaching.
oh, well, this is one where yeah, I mean, yeah, I
But
mean,
you say you never use the password part, so it's
I've never
like you
used the
do that.
password part, right? Like, yeah, I mean, I've never had, and there are certain things where there's not been a need for it, right? But in theory, yes, I mean, I've seen similar things like this from other website builders like Squarespace and Wix and stuff where you can lock pages down, like a members only type of thing. And then that, so I'm a, I'm under the assumption that this is, it says password protect this page, right? Could it be that because I'm an ad, here's the other thing, it could be because I'm an admin,
Mhm.
I'm able to see and do anything. I'm not getting blocked by it, right? I don't know. Sometimes that becomes very hard for me because as I'm even though I have the idea of what should happen, um, it doesn't actually always happen. I could try to copy the link address here. This is not, let's see, I need to, oh, there you go. So yeah, it does work. That does work actually. It just because I'm it's because I'm an admin, right? So I have to enter the password to get in, right? Which I believe I just put in as password. I did, I think I just had this set to as
So this is us creating, if we were to create a page and to act, I mean, to get in the page, we can create a password just for the executive, but anyone can still view the page and not have to type in a password. Is that my understanding?
yeah.
Like certain links.
Yes, I think yes to most of the parts of what you're saying. You can have a page set to as soon as you password protect it, right? It should be only accessible to anyone who has the password, right? So you can still set it to, I've kind of gone over a few of the different permissions that you've seen me go over. When you put the password on there, it then is the override of all the other things, right? Because now the password's the main thing that is blocking anybody from actually going through. So anyone who has the password can view the page, but until then, yes, you still have a destination where you can go to with the URL as it's published still, but it actually won't let you do anything because the password's being the locking key, right? So like does that answer the question? Like, so if you have it, you're able to do it. If you have other members or anybody else who has it, they can still access it, right? But nobody else can.
You answered the question. I just wanted to make sure that, but we do want our page to be public. But if we
Yeah.
were to change anything on the page, we don't want nobody else to have access to doing that.
Yeah, maybe you have documents, yeah, that you want that
Yeah.
only you guys have access to that. Yeah, then you can lock that down, but then have everything else, right, be completely, because like, yeah, you saw like I was, um, when I put that, it probably will let me just write in, but, I can go to anywhere else within the site, just not the actual yeah, it's gonna let me go in because it's already authenticated me. But I could technically go to home, I could go to menu 2A. I couldn't go to test unless I had the password. So everything else would be public, right? The test would be locked down with the password, right? So that yeah, you could have specific things. Again, it's really what your club, right? Your group really needs, right? If they have something that they don't want others to see, you can do it. And again, like I said, you could also have it set up so that it's only being set with access to, I probably will only let you do it with, no, it won't do it with this menu page. But yeah, any other page, so you can have the other type of access, which is set to all these different things, but you have to make sure you set those things up so that as you can see, there's a lot of different redundancies, right? And with duplicating options, right? But yeah, I guess you can't discredit for the ability to customize it just the way you want it to. But yeah, so there's that. I think the biggest takeaway from this is minus this back end. This is the back end part that someone's going to see. But when you're editing your web page, right, that you basically really have to figure out what you're trying to say, right? And then, experiment with finding the specific things within there, right? So there are, I sometimes like to look at most used, right? Because that's obviously saying who's most using this with campus groups. And then try to see, oh, this might be a nice one to add in, right? If I want it, right? Like, but if I don't know what I'm trying to tell or what I'm trying to explain, right, then it kind of feels a little bit like I don't really know what I'm looking for, right? The executive leadership team's page, right? I kind of already had a story that with the ELT students, right, where I want a resource hub where it shows all of the content that we have available that clubs can use to get help with, One of those is one of those actually is going to YouTube, right? So when I look at it and I go like, hey, I want, go to the videos, that's going to take me directly to YouTube, right? So, I mean, which is where this video is going to go at the very end here. But yeah, I know what I'm trying to tell as the story. The club has to figure out what they want that story to be and then experiment with it to try to figure out what works best, right? So that's why it's been so hard to try to explain and give a training on a website because website isn't exactly like it can get very technical fast, but it also is a lot like it's about exploration and figuring it out, right? So, um, and yeah, so I think yeah, as you can see here, right? Yeah, this is funny. Yeah, as we can see here, I've created myself accidentally two home pages. Um, so we'll figure out what exactly. Oh, yeah, it is two exact home pages. But the good news is that since this is the designated one as home, I can delete this other one, and now it should take that away from the navigation thing up at the top, right? Um, and I'll lastly end this training with just saying that there's even more customization that can be done, but it really it really starts to go into knowing how to use HTML, and there's really no easy way to explain that. Um, so if there are certain things that somebody wants or needs, right, those can be done, but it would maybe take a little bit more, right, background. I think we can use an example of um, okay, I can go back here. You could use an example of just the main test group club is it to explain this by saying that um, some of the earliest tests I've done, um, and this is my joking around page, right? Is we could have like if you have want to give smart thing, which allows you to have be collecting money, right? You could technically do that, right? But that required me to have to figure out about creating a widget, right? A widget type, right? And then actually editing that information with the HTML, right? So all can be done, but it takes a little bit more background. And as like I was saying with this, this is this is kind of telling a story, right? Right. So I'm like figuring out what you want that story to be like, and then doing it. So yeah, it's really figuring out what your club needs and wants with it, right? So that is really going to be the end of the training. I will I will stop the recording right now and do this.